intra-political wranglings within the ruling APC, that's at the national level. Of course, we've seen some of this play out also at the sub-nationals. Well, the party is counting down to the proposed national convention come February next year. But then there are concerns on the certainty of that flagship event. Well, some groups within the party have raised fears of possible extension of a tenure of the caretaker leadership, some even calling the arrangement unconstitutional. The caretaker committee leadership has disowned the groups, saying that they are not recognized. Just recently, another group called the Progressive Mandate Movement has given the party leadership an ultimatum to publish the details of the planned convention, or they will be forced to occupy the National Secretariat. Well, we are sinking our teeth into that controversy. Tonight, it's a very important conversation because this is the party in government, and their internal issues will most likely affect the quality of governance across the board. So let's take a deep dive. We're joined on the program by Mr. Ahmed Sajo, who's a concerned APC member, joins us from our Abuja studio, and right next to him is Prince Mustapha Audu, a leader, Progressive Youth Movement. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us on the program tonight.
Thank you. Thank you very much. The Merry Christmas, compliment of the season.
Well, thank you very much. We certainly hope it's merry, merry in the APC at this time. And let me begin with Prince Audu, because your party, the APC, is meant to be the standard to beat in terms of internal democracy, conduct of members, conduct of party processes. But it doesn't look like that's the case here. So what exactly is the grouse for you and your group?
First of all, Kaide, good evening. Good evening to all Nigerians. I'm so happy to be here. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and an excellent 2022 to everyone. Unfortunately, our party has not set the right standard. We are the ruling party, we are the party in power, but we've not led by example, especially when it comes to party politics. We have an illegal CEC-PC still currently in place. Even though our group has disbanded them, we no longer recognize them. But we already know something. We already know that the CEC-PC had no intention and still has no intention to conduct the convention. They intend to bamboozle the whole party and the whole country till sometime in June, July, then mix everything up by giving us convention, party primaries, everything all at once in one shambolic exercise. So we know what they're about. We know what their intentions are. Their intentions are clear. Anyone with an intention to do convention on the 5th of February, hey, the entire party should be aware. Everybody should be mobilizing towards it. There should be, moves towards reconciliation. Right now, out of the 36 states that should have 36 chairmen, we have over 93 chairmen in the APC currently. And still, there are many more factions in other states that have not yet been recognized. So it is clear that there is a deep issue, and unfortunately the people handling the matters are PDP men, especially Senator Akpan Udo-Dehe, which is a full-fledged PDP man out here to destroy the APC. He has actually sent his brother a few weeks ago to go back to
Prince
the PDP to wait for him while he
Let me quickly come in here,
APC.
Prince Audu, so we can have a fruitful conversation. Yes. Let's not make this personal. No personal attacks. Let's speak to the issues. Well, he's not here to defend himself, so let's just stick to the issues. So please go ahead.
We're sticking to the issues. He is, or he was the secretary of the APC. So we're not speaking to him as an individual. We're speaking to him as the previous secretary of the CEC-PC. This is why there are actually issues in the APC. People have come in from other parties and taken up critical positions that should have been for loyal party members. There's no strategy, there's no coming together, no meetings, no in-depth plan, no 2-year, 5-year policy, nothing. We're just watching how and seeing what they're doing, and it's very unfortunate. So as young stakeholders in the party, we're no longer happy with just keeping quiet. We want to be part of this system that we built. We built the APC. All young people came together with many others to build this APC. But unfortunately, what is going on is not what we expected. And going forward, Kayode, you're watching. I challenge you to tell me that there will be a convention and prove to me, God give us life, 5th of February, right? We'll see, there will be no convention. So I know that these are dishonest men that we're dealing with, handling the party and controlling over 200 million people. So
again,
what we want is honesty in the APC.
Okay,
what we
Prince
want
Alju,
is for people, our leaders, to be
here's what I
honest
can
with
tell
us,
you.
for us to come together and have a real plan
Okay,
towards
let me
a
just put this in
convention
just
to
a
produce
moment,
a
Prince
chairman
Alju.
and an NWC. Right now, the
if you can hear
APC
me,
doesn't
Prince
have an
Alju,
NWC.
let me just put this in, I mean, as we progress. I mean, let's watch the use of our language on the one hand, but also, just to get your grouse clearly, so is your grouse about the planned convention? I mean, I can't tell you what will happen in the future, but I can ask you the questions, right? So one, is it about the planned convention? Yeah. Is it about the legality of the caretaker committee? Is it about the conduct of the committee, or your participation or lack of your participation within party affairs? What exactly is your grouse before we move to Mr. Sajo?
I think that's where all of this stems from. It stems from the lack of youth participating properly in critical positions in the party. This is where we started from. So we wanted youth inclusion in the party. And the best way to do that is at the convention. But as we start going around the country and, you know, bringing more awareness to the issue of youth inclusion, we approached our party leaders to discuss this issue, this grave issue affecting all young people in the country. We're over 170 million young people, and there's very little representation. You have less than 1% of the people in government representing the largest population. So that's what we wanted to do. We sat down with our party leaders, but after they sit down, it was clear that what we were doing was affecting them. And it was simple. There was no intention for a convention. But we were pushing for a convention. We want a convention to happen. And not just happen, we want to be included. We want to have critical positions in the party. This is when we ran into various obstacles. One obstacle after the other, just simply because we wanted youth inclusion. So by discussing with these party leaders, we saw that there was no genuine intention. So we decided, okay, as young people, if there's no room for us, A, and B, there's no room for a convention. They don't want to do a convention till August, September. That's the plan. Okay. So if that's the case, we're not ready for that. We want a convention early on. We will go ahead and do our convention if they don't want to. As soon as we declared February for our convention, the governors met the very next day in Abuja and also declared February for their convention. So we said, okay, we don't believe you. We went ahead and picked February 26th. But what did the leaders do? Instead of calling us for discussions, for negotiations, for an understanding of what the problem is, they sent DSS after us. Even the DSS, I've never met such intelligent, hardworking, loving Nigerians before. The security agencies themselves knew that what is going on cannot continue. There must be some sort of progress in the country from one administration to another, from one party to another. There must be growth. But this growth is not being reflected. And as young people, that's all we are asking for. But never have our leaders sat with us. And the reason why they are afraid to sit with us is that we are not the type that you sit with us and tell us convention is in February and we go to bed. When you tell us convention is in February, we want to know the committees. We want to know the people. We want to know what you're doing about resolving the issues. These questions, they're not ready to answer. Okay. So because they are not ready to answer, the approach is force.
Well, let's try to get some answers.
This is the issue, and this is where we are.
And I like the way you have, reeled out these your concerns. So let's try to get some answers, if we can, from Mr. Sajo. I mean, Mr. Sajo, he has listed quite a number of issues, a lot of them. Well, Prince, I'll also come back to that, your planned convention, which you talked about. But Mr. Sajo, I mean, for your opening comments, how do you respond to issues about, Prince Aldo saying there are no genuine intentions, at least on the path of the caretaker committee, talking about internal democracy, no plans for even the convention. How do you respond?
First and foremost, let me wish you a very, very Merry Christmas and compliment of the season to all Nigerians. I think I'm very glad. I like the passion with which my brother here is talking. But let us separate the issues from the emotions, from the sentiment. First and foremost, I am at loss as to the legitimacy, the legitimate basis upon which my brother here, my younger brother here is talking. They have disowned a group that they were not the ones that set it up, and that they do not have either constitutional or even moral authority over. They are saying they can read people's intentions, and that is very, very serious. I used to believe in my own days that there is no art to read the mind's construction on the face, but here are people who are telling me that they have read other people's intentions, and they're premising everything they're doing on the fact that they have read other people's intentions. I think we should separate those emotive issues and look at the real issues the way they are. First and foremost, let's look at it from the nomenclature of the committee we're talking about. It's a caretaker extraordinary convention committee. So it presupposes that a convention committee is already in place. And that is one. Two, that that same committee is still the legitimate leadership the party has at the secretariat if you go. And it's still the legitimate leadership of the party that agencies of government under the law deal with. You cannot question their legitimacy at this point in time. And then thirdly, on the 20th of December, just about 4 or 5 days before Christmas, the committee met and discussed and agreed to set up a process of determining the cost of hosting the convention, and also the modalities and the structure the convention will take. And a statement was issued to that effect. We also know that, legally, the notice they are supposed to give the electoral body before they hold the convention is 21 days notice. And from purely legal point of view, even if a date has been agreed to, we have not yet exhausted the 21 days notice that is supposed to be given to INEC to presuppose that there is no intention to hold conventions. So let us separate the facts from the emotive issues and look at them very dispassionately. I think I would rather not go with anybody's intention. I will go with what the law says. I will go with what is legal. I will go with what the situation is on ground. And legally, as at today, the caretaker extraordinary convention committee is the leadership of the party. Legally, as at today, it is still possible to hold a convention in February. What I'm even questioning is the fact that the February 5th, I don't know who mentioned February 5th, but I know that the leadership of the party said they will hold a convention in February, and we're waiting. February is still a little bit far off considering the legal processes that are required. Not the emotional processes, but the legal processes.
So let's stay on that legal...
based on what has happened, to see what exactly is going to happen. And we would rather work with what is, concrete than what we think is the intention of some individuals.
Okay, and so let's stay on what is concrete.
In appealing to my younger brother here, that I think whatever we're going to do in the open media, we should respect people's positions. We should avoid mentioning people's names who are not around to defend themselves.
Yes,
I think we should continue to look at the issues.
Okay, Mr. Sajo, let's just stick to the concrete
and the
things
structures the
you
way
mentioned.
They are, but avoid individuals, naming individuals.
Quickly, just sticking to the concrete things you mentioned. You said that legally, the CPC, that's the convention, the Caretaker and Extraordinary Convention Planning Committee, is legally the leadership structure of your party. And that's the question that has been raised, that what part of the APC Constitution recognizes that kind of arrangement?
Well, the part that gives the National Executive Council the powers to set up committees for the good governance of the party. The National Executive Council it's the highest decision-making body in between conventions. And it was the NEC, the National Executive Council, that established the caretaker committee. So it's a constitutional matter. But I believe that anybody who thinks that for whatever reason that the person does not agree with the arrangement, it's been over a year now. Somebody should go to court and question it legally, not determine, on the pages of newspaper or in front of a television station to say this is legal or this is illegal. I have no powers to determine the legality of an institution. You have no powers to determine the legality of an institution. The body does not have powers to determine the legality of an institution. The only body that can determine the legality of an institution is a competent court of law.
Okay,
so anybody who doesn't go to court of law and sits in front of a television camera and says something is illegal, is not talking of
Prince Audu
legality.
wants to intervene on that, Mr. Sajo. So Prince Audu, go ahead, please.
We have some certain points to cover that. He's right. The legality of it is what matters. And I'll quote our APC Constitution and the Nigerian Constitution to show that we're in violation. Article 17(4) of the APC Constitution states that no officer in any organ of the party can concurrently hold another position in government, especially a governor. So first of all, we're in violation of the APC Constitution. The Nigerian Constitution, Article 183, also states that no governor can hold any other position concurrently. Then if you now delve into the APC Constitution to actually find out the powers of NEC that he has mentioned and the BOT, there are actually only two bodies, according to the APC Constitution, that can carry out a national convention, which is the BOT and the NEC. Now, the NEC can set up, just like he had mentioned, the NEC can set up a committee to carry out the planning of the convention, which is the CCPC. But according to the APC Constitution, it states that the NEC must give a timeline. And if that timeline elapses, the NEC must sit down again to extend the timeline. Now, at the first meeting in June 2020, after that 6 months was set up for the CCPC, the NEC was dissolved. In order for NEC to sit down, you need 1/3. You need 1/3 to form a quorum. Now, out of the 39 members, 29 have been dissolved. So you have only 10 members available out of almost 40. So therefore, it's impossible for the NEC to sit at this point to extend the tenure of the CCPC, which means that the CCPC is illegal. Now, also, there are other dangers that we are facing that courtrooms are exposing now is that there's only the NWC has the power to set up screening committees for governorship and presidential elections. We've done 2 elections so far. The results in courts have been disastrous. We're about to do 2 more elections coming up, Ekiti and Osun. If anybody were to go to court and say the CCPC does not have the legal right to conduct that, we will lose that election.
Well, Prince Audu,
we would certainly lose the election. So you see, we're currently in violation of APC Constitution and Nigerian Constitution.
So as we wind down,
as a body who respects the law, what do? We have proceeded to court. We have asked the court to determine whether the Nigerian Constitution, Article 183, is being violated, whether the APC Constitution, Article 17(4), is actually being violated. The court needs to interpret that part of the Constitution for us. Because as a layman, I'm a layman, I'm not a lawyer. As a layman, the Constitution tells me if you're a governor, you cannot hold any other position. For obvious reasons, the influence, the power the governor wields over is undue power. Imagine if your governor was the chairman of your party in your state. Anything your governor says is what happens. So this was what was envisaged while both constitutions were being created. Now we're in violation of both constitutions.
So Prince Audu, we're winding down on this conversation.
Utter impunity.
We're winding down on this conversation.
So if you look at it right now,
I was going to ask you if you have gone, just a moment.
If he knows it, I'll refer him.
Right, gentlemen, just a moment. So we have about 2 minutes to wind down on this conversation. So Prince Audu says they've gone to court to get interpretation of those sections. So it would seem that we're waiting on the court to get an understanding of what's playing out here. But on a final note, gentlemen, and
January 19th.
January 19th, right. So on a final note, and let me begin from Mr. Sajo. So a few days to the planned convention, it looks like a lot of groups are still questioning not just the legitimacy, but the modus operandi. In fact, Prince Audu says they have a parallel structure now. So Clearly, a lot of issues ongoing within the party. What should the Convention Planning Committee be focusing on to ensure that these issues are resolved before it blows up in the face of the party?
Let me sharply, quickly, respond to that. But before then, let me tell you that if he has gone to court, I mean, you can't go to court and then sit down again and determine what you think the court should have determined. I think he should keep to his belief in the court of law as an arbiter. Secondly, I want to say that sometimes we make very sweeping generalizations on some issues. A governor, can hold ad hoc positions. We have chairmen of governors forums at national, at party level, at regional level. You cannot say these guys are holding concurrent positions as determined by the Constitution. I think we should allow the courts to determine some of those things.
Okay.
But I must assure you that from what I said, on the 20th of December, the Caretaker Extraordinary Convention Committee had met, and they are already working on the modalities for the convention.
Okay, Mr.
They are also
Sajo.
working on the budgeting for the convention.
Okay, we have to go now, Mr. Sajo, because of our time.
The holidays.
I said we had 2 minutes.
Start.
Okay, I said we had 2 minutes to wind down. Just 30 seconds now. So, Prince Audu, what must the Convention Planning Committee do in 30 seconds to ensure that things go smoothly as we wind down?
To be honest, first of all, we don't recognize them, the PYM, but if they are serious about what they want to do, reconciliation planning, dates, timeline, you need to involve everybody. You need to be open about this. That's the only way. The whole country, Nigerians are watching. We're just lying to ourselves. Nigerians are watching quietly. We can't fool Nigerians. There's so much hardship going on. There's so many things that are going wrong.
Right.
In order to fix this, all is required from our leaders. It's just honesty.
And that's a great place to anchor.
Tell us, this is the real situation. How can we come together to salvage what is going on?
Well, gentlemen, we must go on this one now. Clearly an ongoing conversation.
Bring us
I'd like to thank you.
Let us work together and let us change things.
Okay, we have to run. Prince Mustapha Audu, thank you so much for your thoughts, as well as Mr. Ahmed Sajo, concerned APC member. It's been great having you, gentlemen. I wish you the very best.
Thank you very much.